Even in a galaxy far, far away, few entities hold more power than the banks. This was the case with the Intergalactic Banking Clan, the largest banking entity in the galaxy. They financed many worlds, but when the Clone Wars broke out, they maintained neutrality and played both sides for profit. This could have perhaps been allowed to continue had the powers that be not decided they wanted to influence the banking clan for themselves and would stop at nothing to gain control of it. That brings us to 20 BBY and the Battle of Scipio. A battle that seemed straightforward on paper, but proved to be anything but.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
But before we get into that fateful battle in 20 BBY, it's important to understand the events that brought all the players to Scipio. For centuries, the IGBC had been one of the most powerful commerce guilds in the galaxy. It was a banking union made up of Munilist's council of banking clans allied with several other banking entities. Operating out of Munilist, the IGBC controlled assets spanning half the galaxy. The best way to imagine its influence would be as a massive entity that could lend money to other entities and through its investments and loans, controlled the flow of wealth in the galaxy. At the time the Separatist crisis broke out, the IGBC was represented by Senator Rush Clovis in the Galactic Senate. We've spoken before about how ludicrous it was for a corporation to have political representation, and this is no different. The IGBC was essentially positioned to put forward fiscal policies that suited its financial endeavors in lending money to the Republic, and it was more than happy to act in its own interest. This was proven even further during the Separatist crisis when the IGBC openly supported the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Its servers hosted Separatist propaganda when their clients accessed the holonet. It sabotaged meetings with Republic Senator Ax Mo to discuss funding for a Republic military initiative, and supported Chancellor Palpatine in the Senate in exchange for several of their corporations profiting from embezzled funds the Chancellor had squirreled away into secret accounts. During the Clone Wars, the IGBC's support of the CIS only became more blatant. It supplied its security forces for the CIS's droid army, with the IGBC's chairman, San Hill, personally sending his forces to them. The IGBC also stalled the Republic for 8 months when deciding whether Republic forces would be allowed to be posted in the neutral territories of Argyle. At this time, the Republic was aware of the IGBC's involvement with the Separatists, but due to how vital the banking clan was to the Republic economy, they had little choice but to allow them to continue profiting from both sides of the war, at least for a time. Tensions escalated until the Battle of Munilist in 22 BBY, which saw Chairman Hill and his executive associates arrested. Although the Mun government was still in charge of the IGBC, their headquarters were moved from Munilist to Scipio, which was a neutral planet and, importantly, not under Republic military occupation. Shortly after, in 20 BBY, Senators Clovis and Amidala uncovered corruption within the IGBC that was detrimental to both sides for a change. The Council of Five was arrested for corruption and fraud, creating a need for a new head of the IGBC. Neither the Republic nor the CIS would tolerate a banking clan that ripped them off, essentially, so for once, they agreed. Both parties sent delegations to Scipio to oversee the appointment of a new chairman of the IGBC, Rush Clovis. The Republic sent Senator Padme Amidala accompanied by Clone Commander Thorn and a garrison of his Coruscant Guard, and the CIS sent Senator Beck Lawsey accompanied by several commando droids. The stage was finally set for things to stabilize. Except, it turns out, things didn't stabilize at all. What had seemed like a peaceful diplomatic meeting turned bloody almost immediately. After Rush Clovis's new appointment as head of the IGBC, Count Dooku contacted him in private and demanded he cede control of the banks to the CIS. When Clovis refused, stating the banks would remain unbiased, Dooku threatened to not repay the CIS loans, which would collapse the banks. Faced with bankruptcy, Clovis had no choice but to raise the interest rate on Republic loans, which enraged the Senate. But Dooku wasn't done yet. To implicate Clovis as a separatist as much as possible, he personally commanded a fleet and launched an invasion of Scipio. Dooku's fleet consisted of 3 Munificent-class star frigates, 1 Providence-class carrier/destroyer, and 2 separatist supply ships. His forces included HMP droid gunships, Hyena-class bombers, Vulture droids, and B-1, B-2, and BX series battle droids, all commanded by a super tactical droid. Once Republic forces, led by Commander Thrawn, became aware of the Separatist fleet, the commander ordered a retreat off the exposed landing zone where they had been stationed. The clones warned Senator Amidala of the incoming attack, but there was little time. Dooku's bombers swooped in and destroyed the LAAT gunships and Consular-class cruiser the Republic forces had brought with them, stranding them on the surface and forcing a retreat into the neutral zone. Even as they retreated, battle droids dropped down and engaged the Republic shock troopers, wiping them out to the last one. With the Republic presence neutralized, Dooku was free to land safely and have his forces occupy Scipio. Senator Amidala was taken captive, though not before she got a message through to Chancellor Palpatine and the Jedi. The breach was so severe and urgent that, upon hearing the news, the Galactic Senate immediately approved a counterattack led by Anakin Skywalker, Captain Rex, and the 501st. The Republic was taking back Scipio and the banking clans. To face off against the fleet Dooku had brought, General Skywalker brought 3 Venator-class Star Destroyers and 2 Architans-class light cruisers. They immediately began firing on the Separatist blockade the moment they exited hyperspace, while Skywalker and a legion of his 501st boarded several LAAT gunships headed planetside with the support of several Z-95 starfighters providing air support. The Separatists deployed several droid fighters to take on the clone starfighters, but as the battle waged on, it became clear the droid forces were outmatched. Dooku, having achieved his objective, ordered a retreat and the Confederate fleet departed, finally allowing the LAATs to reach the ground. As they approached the city, Republic forces encountered the remaining Separatist forces, mostly in the form of droid bombers and starfighters that had been deployed during the Separatists' invasion of Scipio. General Skywalker and his troopers disembarked at the landing pads Thrawn and his guards had fallen at and engaged the remaining droid ground forces. Leaving Commander Rex in charge of neutralizing the remaining droids, the Jedi ran off to rescue Senator Amidala. Perhaps predictably, the end for Rush Clovis was both tragic and unfair. He and Senator Amidala had been held captive in his office. Aware that he'd been framed, Clovis lamented that his legacy would be nothing but one of treason and corruption. Senator Amidala encouraged his surrender, but when General Skywalker stormed into the office and dispatched the security droids, Clovis saw no choice but to take Amidala hostage. Holding her at gunpoint in an effort to bide himself enough time to plead his innocence, Clovis told Skywalker the whole truth, who refused to believe him. But in the end, it wasn't Skywalker who killed him. A disabled Vulture droid crashed into the spire supporting the office, causing it to collapse. Skywalker held on to both of them as the structure collapsed, but he seemed unable to save them both. To protect Amidala, Clovis let go and plummeted to his death, sacrificing himself for her sake. The droid forces still lingering behind were soon fully dispatched and Scipio was under Republic control. The aftermath of the battle was momentous and not at all coincidental. With Dooku's mission a success, the IGBC had been clearly implicated once more in fraud and corruption. With the blame laid at Clovis's feet, the Mun government ceded control of the banking clans to Supreme Chancellor Palpatine. Although Palpatine received the honor humbly, this had been his plan all along. With control of the banking clans directly in his hands, Palpatine had more power than ever before. After Order 66, he used that power to nationalize the banking clans and take full control of their assets and influence for the Empire. Even in a galaxy far, far away, money grants power and power leads to corruption. Rush Clovis learnt that the hard way, and with him set up as the sacrificial lamb, Palpatine took control of one of the galaxy's most influential financial entities. Because you're always gonna need credits, even when playing 5D chess. But that's our take on the Battle of Scipio, a conflict that looked straightforward on the surface, but went so deep that no one but Dooku and Palpatine had really any hope of seeing the true implications. But what do you think? Are there any other battles you want to hear about in detail? Feel free to let us know in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.